Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of Let's Be Social. I have a special guest on today. His name is Michael Stein. He is an entrepreneur, a stand up comedian, actor, and director. So I'm going to put it over to you, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate your time. And
Thank you for having me on your show.
yeah, thanks a lot. And just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started. I mean, you've done a little bit of everything, so would love to.
Yeah, I give you the whole kind of like short story, and I do a podcast called Long Shot Leaders, and I kind of consider myself a long shot. My grandmother escaped the Russian concentration camps on the way to America. My dad was a New York homeless street kid, became a multimillionaire only to lose it all again. His business was in Toronto, like I told you about in the pregame. And I used to wake up every morning when my grandmother told me, "You're lucky to be alive because we escaped the Russian concentration camps." Because I had to sleep in the same room with her until I was 9 years old because my dad made all this money and lost it all. So, my mom, was a single mother and it was a very large family. So, youngest me had to sleep in the same room with this old Jewish lady talking about these war stories. And my dad was this, homeless guy that was successful and lost it all. And I had ADHD, ADD, stutter, a lot of health issues. And I really didn't have any success myself. That's why I consider myself a long shot to now because I, only success I had when I was younger was making people laugh at myself or others. So then that got me through. And then I was still struggling, but as a kid, like most kids in America, they saw the movie Rocky. And
Yeah.
I was like, here's a guy like me. He doesn't succeed much. He always gets knocked down. He's not smart. He fails all the time. But he keeps on getting back up and fighting. And I was like, kind of like that. And he was funny in the movie. And so the only difference between this guy and myself is he's physically fit. So then I decided I'm going to be physically fit. And I worked out, since I was 11 years old every day since then. By the time I was 16, I was able to become a physical fitness trainer while I was in high school at my local gym. And I said, "Oh, that's two things. I can make people laugh and, be, physically fit. It's just time plus effort." I get it. So my high school tutor said, "What do you want to do when you get out of high school?" I said, "I want to be an entrepreneur, a stand-up comedian, an actor." She said, "You might want to work with your hands because not everybody's meant to do what they want to do." So I said, "Screw you. My dad was homeless and he made millions of dollars, lost it all, but still, he did it." So I said, "I'm going to do it." So a day after I graduated high school, I started my own company and it failed miserably. And then after that, I said, "Okay, let me see what happened here." So then 6 months later, I took some classes in City College. I didn't want to go to college. I just wanted to be an entrepreneur and get my started. So I finally did stand up comedy. I was 19 years old. Brought a lot of people there, but you don't make a lot of money as a stand up comedian. And so I said in LA at that time, nightclub promotion was really big. It was booming in the late 80s. And I said, "I'm gonna be a nightclub promoter because I can bring a lot of people there." And within 6 months then, I became the number one nightclub promoter in Los Angeles for my age bracket. And I was off to the races. And that kind of opened up the doors for me to be my first acting role, which was playing Dirt Diggler in the Dirt Diggler story, which is a short film to Boogie Nights, Academy Award nominated film, which I appear in as well. And from there, I was able to started making my own films and did big promotional priorities for Warner Brothers Studios and a lot of big movies, and it kind of opened up my career. But I didn't get close to a movie deal, so I said, I put up my own money up to make films. I got close to getting my own movie deal, where you got your own screenplays, you've written them now. Just didn't turn over to a big movie deal. So I said, after this long journey of like ups and downs, I said, I'm going to make my own movie. Only thing is, at this point, all my nightclub money was used up in my ventures and my award-winning short films that didn't make any money because it won a lot of accolades. I said, I'm going to make my own film, feature film. But I was broken in debt. So I started a company selling tarps on the internet because the internet was like in 2000, it was still young. And within 6 months, I made over $250,000 for my film. A couple months after that, it was like $500,000, and I was making the film uh, with Academy Award winner Faye Dunaway, Andy Dick, Coolio, big cast, many faces that you've seen. And that didn't turn over. That didn't make a lot of money. It won awards again. It didn't make a lot of money. So I said, "Screw it. I'm going to make this company that I started successful and take care of that." And since then, it's made over $100 million, and I've done quite well with that. I still do stand up comedy. And that's kind of like my ups and downs story. And that's why I do a podcast called Long Shot Leaders. And that's kind of like me in a nutshell, really fast. There's a lot of ups and downs and crazy stuff that happened in between that, but that's kind of like me in a nutshell.
Okay, very good. Um, was there something in all of that that you liked the most? Because you've kind of done a little bit of everything. Is there something that you enjoyed? Because what you're currently doing, are you enjoying that more than kind of what you've been doing along the way in film?
Well, I like being an entrepreneur because you're in total control. You wake up to no one, you could do whatever you want, however you want, whenever you want. No one tells you to do anything.
Mhm.
You know, that's why I kind of like stand up comedy too. I could talk about whatever I want, do whatever I want. When you do a film, it's really rewarding because it's such a flashy medium, of storytelling. So that's really cool. But you're confined to so many moving parts. And less control because it's just not about you. It takes a village. It's a screenplay. You money and all kinds of things.
Mhm.
So, but that, so which one do I like the best? An entrepreneur, being in control and then making money and having that security and having all that instant gratification every day because revenue's coming in and it's a creative process that you can totally control. Then stand up comedy because it's like kind of like my first job, there on the schoolyard when I was 6, trying to survive. So that was like the best, that's like just, that's like, it's just something that comes natural.
Mhm.
So those are the two top two, those two things.
Okay. What brought you to doing a company selling tarps of all things? I'm just curious.
So my dad was in the tool business in the late 60s
Okay.
and he then left it and sold calculators in Toronto, Canada with Brother International. He was he buy them from that company and he opened up a mail order campaign. A mail order was like the internet before the internet came around. And he
Mhm.
made millions of dollars from this campaign. He lost out all. And then he went back to the tool business. And one of the guys that was his partner in the late 60s in the tool business opened up a company called Harbor Freight, which is a multi-billion-dollar company publicly traded now. And I grew up hearing about this rich man, poor man kind of thing. My dad would say, you need to sell these tools like Alan Smith does. Smitty, they called him, the guy that owns Harbor Freight, multi-billionaire. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that, because that's what I try to do when I get out of high school. I try to sell tools and it's so boring. I said, let me look at these catalogs of products. I was like, oh, these tarps, they're colorful. They cover a lot of things. You could use them for so many different things. I wonder how the internet's doing with that. So I was methodical about it. I was like, yeah, there's some people selling it, but I said, I think I can get the product for this, have a good margin. I was very calculating about it. And I always heard the story when the internet first came around. There's a guy selling ceiling fans and he's making $300,000 a year. And I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. You know, just zeroing in on like some niche product, but I wanted to do something that had some kind of adventure to it or something you could use for all applications, and also something I could donate to the homeless, which I ended up doing. I used to do that with nightclubs. I donate to the homeless. Long story, but so that's why I chose it. It was a methodical thing, and it started clicking. I was a production assistant on films as I built the website, so I slowly was able to transition within a month or two from being a production assistant on films. I was working commercials at the time to launching that website, and I I got big sales, from here and there, and that kind of hop skipped me over to just building the business into a bigger and bigger business.
That's amazing. Everyone needs tarps. I mean, everyone. I've got some
Yeah.
myself. So, you know. And where does the podcast come in? Like,
Well, because I was a nightclub promoter for so long, and I wasn't, I really missed it. This business, it's so different. You deal with people in an office; it's conventional business. But I would get to see, when you're running a nightclub promoter as a younger guy, you're running for president without an education, which sounds like that was already happened. But that missing those people, those thousands of people a night that you're shaking hands, So podcast. If I was going to do a podcast, I get to see people like me talking to you today,
yeah.
so it's really gratifying. So I miss that camaraderie. So if I was going to do a podcast, I said, what kind of podcast would I do? What kind of people would I want to talk to? Somebody kind of like maybe had challenges and that overcome them. So I said, I really wanted to do that. And that's why I do that. And now we're starting two more podcasts from here. We have a stand-up comedy, acting, performing arts podcast that we're
Mhm.
starting next month. And after that, we have a new brand that I'm starting. It's like going to be an outdoor products brand.
Mhm.
We're at the company that I have now for the tarps company is funding the whole thing, and it's a separate whole brand. And hopefully, it'll be a lifestyle brand that you'll hear about. It should be. It's gonna be pretty big. And we're doing a podcast for that too, called Bolator, which is the name of the product, and that's gonna be outdoor adventures. So podcasting is just something that I gain connection from it, with all these people like yourself and and comedians still and people that have overcome large obstacles and outdoor people. And it's just so rewarding. And I just love it.
Cool. And are you still actively doing stand-up comedy right now?
I've taken a big break from it and I'm starting back up again in June. And I made a commitment to myself and some, comedian friends that once I start again, I will do no less than 2 days a week. And
Mhm.
I will do it indefinitely. So yes, I'll
Oh,
be doing that
nice.
forever.
That's cool. So you're just doing it because you're passionate about it.
Yeah. I don't want to limit myself as a comedian because that to me it's just a lifestyle, but if I can get more successful gigs again when I start it up again, that's always the goal. Or do I end up like Kane from Kung Fu, the old 70s show, who just wanders the earth, going into town to town, doing a stand-up routine? That might be me then too. Either way, I'm gonna be there for either one of those.
Nice. And what or who inspires you in life and in your business? Do you have anything or anyone in particular?
You know, um, I there's nobody in particular. My dad inspired me, even though he lost it all, but he was just such he was like Santa Claus and looked like Elvis, and he was just a hustler, and he was a great salesman. So that guy inspired me initially. There's other people that I met along the way that really inspired me. Peter Guber, who's a producer in Hollywood, was really impressed me when I was younger because I was able to spend time with him, and uh, just a lot of people on my podcast. I talk to so many people. They're not. Some people are famous. Some people are not. Like to me, like Ben Lesser, who is a 93-year-old Holocaust survivor. That's the kind of stuff that moves my blood.
Yeah.
Not just because I'm Jewish, but also because I grew up hearing those stories, and then I meet somebody like that that has overcome like an amazing amount of like physical, emotional, spiritual pain, and then overcoming that. That's the stuff that inspires me. So obviously Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, you know, that was somebody that really inspired me. I mean, I will cry in movies that don't make sense when you cry. Not when somebody's dying, but when somebody's succeeding, I will cry. Like
Mhm.
if you like, Moneyball with Brad Pitt. I saw that and I was like, why am I crying during this one? There's particular scene because it's somebody that overcomes something, and that's what really moves me. So those are the kind of things that inspire me.
Mhm. Very good. I mean, I have to say that Rocky also inspired, well, Sylvester Stallone's movie also kind of inspired me too. I think he is a good inspiration for everyone, I think, just because he's a rare story that made it big, right?
Right.
From
I
his
mean,
perseverance and, you know,
such a rare story. I mean, not a lot of people have done. Actually very little have wrote and ended up starring in. He's the only one I think that has wrote and starred in a film that has won an Academy Award. No one else has ever done that.
yeah,
So a lot of people have been successful that route, but not win an Academy Award. He won in 1976. He didn't direct it. John G. Allison directed it, but he ended up directing the second one, which is almost as good. People don't really realize how good Rocky 1 and 2 is. Even Rocky 2 is a well-written script.
yeah,
The other ones, get kind of bubble gum and made him a lot of money. And that's okay. But those first, the one, of course, and he's yeah a big inspiration because he's also extremely talented. He's actually smarter than people think.
yeah,
So he's really inspirational. And I like his Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. The acting, and then because he could play this like person that's like unassuming and not formidable intellectually, but he's so powerful as a an actor, as a writer, as someone that can produce his own movies, which he does. He's got a very entrepreneurial spirit as well in real life.
He's also a very good artist.
Yeah, right? I mean, he
Wow.
he
I was
doesn't s
like, wow.
he finds a way to get a lot of shit done fast.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so do you. You sound like you're busy doing, you have your hands in a lot of different things and you're kind of doing a little bit of everything along the way.
I was just talking about something about this last night. The key, and I'm just, still we're all trying to perfect, to get better, but processes, automations, leveraging, PAL. Somebody said, "Hey, that spells PAL." I'm like, "Oh, cool." So processes, automations, and leveraging, and whatever you can't fit in that bucket, you're gonna have to end up doing yourself more often than not. So I try to make sure those three things I could execute those three things before it falls on my plate with every single process. So, like for example, like how am I gonna find time to do stand up comedy twice a week? Well, this new product that we're launching, a whole new patented brand of products I've been building for the past 3 years, it's got to go on, trade shows, on the road, towns. I said, what can I do at night? These trade shows during the day. Well, why don't I find a comedy club you can do stand up in? And so you find ways. You got to say, where's there an opening where I can do also net time? You know what net time is? You ever hear of net time?
Yeah.
So net time is basically simply like, let's say I have to watch an educational video on X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
Why not ride the treadmill while I'm doing that so I can, get some cardiovascular exercise? So that's net time times one.
Okay.
Tony Robbins talks about that. So I try to find net times time two, times three. So I got to spend time with my daughter, but I have to work out and I got to watch this video. Well, she said she wants to work out also. Now that's net time times two.
Mhm.
So I try to, along with Pal, I tried to do net time as well. And that's how, I try to find more time.
Yeah, you have to. There's only so many hours in a day. You have to maximize your hours that you're awake.
Right.
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and are you going to be just doing one kind of like local comedy club then? You're not going to tour around then, obviously.
No, actually, I am. I'm here in the Austin area. Joe Rogan's over the place. I'm going to be doing, looking to go to his place, the mothership, and then also got a local place out here in my town, which is 25 minutes north of Austin.
Mhm.
I also do. I have an enormous amount of trips that I have to do for video and picture shoots for the new product for Bolator. So I'll be going. I have my wife's family's back in Connecticut, so might as well do stand up in Connecticut, do it in Hawaii, do it in Alaska because we have a trip over there. Do it in Vegas when a trade shows over there. Uh, all around Texas, of course, because that's home base for me. My family's in LA, and that's where I'm from. So then, I go back periodically every trip I go. I got to make sure that but I have LA's the easiest target because I have like infrastructure there. But yeah, I'll be doing stand up at all those places, why not?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I think that's fabulous. That's great. And I wish you success on the launch of your new product and podcasts. Obviously, as you said, you have an entrepreneurial spirit and you have obviously success in all areas of your life. And that obviously shows. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well,
Um,
thank you.
is there anywhere that people can find your podcast current?
Yes. Just go to longshotleaders.com.
Mhm.
That'll be michaelsteinmedia.com pretty soon because we're adding two new podcasts. But you can go to longshotleaders.com. It'll always be a good URL to go there. Link up to that. And you'll see all my social links from there. And you could find out more about me, dates that I'll be doing stand up, locations, more about, our company and other projects I'll be working on.
And will they be able to find your tarp company there as well?
They can. There's a whole bio which has a link to that. It'll have a link next month for Bolator, which is launching in August,
Mhm.
and we have a whole campaign leading up to that. So yeah, they'll get anything that when they can go to longshotleaders.com now. Next month it'll be michaelsteinmedia.com. You can go there and check it out. My socials, all over and not hard to find. There's a lot of Michael. There's a couple of Michael Steins, but like Michael Stein Media, you can find anything you need to know. And last thing I will tell you is like I love your Let's Be Social little background you got there. That's anybody that hasn't seen it yet. Barbie Hamilton has a really cool little background with a little bee and that says Let's Be Social. So thank you for letting me be on Let's Be Social with your. She's also got a really interesting red and green headsets on. That looks pretty cool too.
It's my daughter's gaming headset.
Looks good.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time this afternoon, and I appreciate it. And if anyone's interested in checking out I'm definitely going to be checking out your podcast. I have this newfound interest since I've been doing podcasts. I've been listening to different podcasts and stuff. So I do.
Wasn't it nice for us to talk on a beautiful Saturday morning here? And you're in Canada, and I'm in, just outside Austin. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it's great. It's technology is amazing.
Yeah,
So, all right. Well, thanks so much, and take care. And I wish you all the best. And thank you for coming on here. And hopefully, maybe later in the year we can have you back on and talk more about your new product launch and stuff. That'd be amazing.
absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.